I now invite on stage former Air Chief Marshal RKS Bhadauria. Air Chief Marshal Rakesh Kumar Singh Bhadauria, PVSM, AVSM, VM, ADC, took over as the Chief of the Air Staff on September 30th, 2019. An alumnus of the prestigious National Defense Academy, he graduated from the Air Force Academy with the coveted Sword of Honor and was commissioned in the fighter stream of Indian Air Force on June 15, 1980. Today, he will speak on China and Pakistan, the IAF's two-front war. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Air Chief Marshal RKS Bhadauria on stage.
Distinguished gathering, a lot of my senior veterans here, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. Opening a session like this is always very good. I'm very happy to open it because you have an open slate in front of you, and the kind of discussions that I see coming up later, I'm sure that whatever Gaurav has planned, you will have a very fruitful day ahead and work out all the samdand that Gaurav was talking about as to what we should do. I will look at China and Pakistan today and tomorrow. What is happening? What is my reading of situation? And what the Indian Air Force, in particular, since he's put that topic for me, what should Indian Air Force do? How we should look at this two front in the coming years for tomorrow. I think a lot has been said on threat analysis, threat perceptions, how the things are changing, the geopolitics of it all, and the recent developments and the importance of what we should concentrate on the Indian side, the importance of indigenous development, Atmanirbharta drive, and how critical it has become and becoming more and more critical by the day. In this short 20 minutes, I will focus on some of the important issues, and my takeaway on the developments between China and Pakistan in the recent past and coming future is on two, three fronts where we need to start thinking differently. Firstly, in no war, no peace kind of situation, in day-to-day peacetime, which is what we frequently deal with, I think it is in interest of China to enable and encourage Pakistan to continue to engage us in this manner in the peacetime through terrorist kind of strikes. After the surgical strikes and Balakot, all events of major events like this have stopped, and they better not try it again because they'll know that there will be repercussions. But at a much lower intensity, it has continued. It has got more complicated by low cost availability of drones and armed drones and the ability to transfer weapons and drugs across, and the infiltration that is continuing at a lower level. I think this is what the game plan would continue both from Pakistan and aided and colluded by China. Second issue, importantly, I think we should look at, we've always maintained that we have now developed a capability and built up that we can handle Pakistan at any time and hold China and deny them any victory or any situation that they want to create on our borders. And we have that capability, and we have a plan to build up further and tackle it. Single fronts going on to two fronts. But importantly, even single front with Pakistan, the level of collusion between China and Pakistan, to me, is a given. And even on a single front with Pakistan, we have to look at what is possible, which can disrupt, the battlefield or their way of operation, which can have a very defining impact on whenever we are even in a single front situation. And I think that has to do a lot with cyber and space, the capabilities that is already in the pipeline and being developed between the two, and the interaction that is happening in cyber, the information from space and where China has reached in space, in both in terms of mapping, your navigations, and your information, the real-time information that can be put in. the impact that this can bring in terms of real-time availability with Pakistan is what needs to be really catered as a collusivity, which will which can have a very big disrupting effect if we don't cater. Cyber, we should, apart from being able to develop enough defensive systems in cyber, we need to think much beyond, and a lot of this is in play in the recent conflicts across the world. But that is just a very low level of play. In our scenario, it will be multiples of this. Of course, the top end is to cater for China and Pakistan two front in terms of capability. Where we are today, very clearly, we have done a lot, a fair amount of modernization drive in the Air Force, a very heavy indigenous development drive. Finally, we are on a good trajectory with the induction of LCAs. More Mark 1 is coming, Mark 2 already cleared, AMCA on the drawing board, which will give us fifth generation capabilities. Our ability in AEW and sensors capability for AVAX role, with Embraer coming in, with more aircraft in the pipeline. All indigenous is great addition, great combat capability. Similarly, on sensors and weapons, very adequate in terms of competitiveness and in terms of long reach. On the helicopter side, with this light combat helicopter, again a big jump. In the helicopter industry is set up well. On the transport side, with the C295, the private sector coming in the way it will, I think that will bring in very solid changes. Overall, our industry and the private sector now increasingly getting enabled and increasingly getting enthusiastic about getting into defense sector. I think it will change the way we work in the future. For tomorrow, all I can say is our entire plan, a large part of which is already made. We should just worry about setting up in a modern way, not just setting up manufacturing, but setting up in a modern way, looking at the future. To scale it up, which will answer some of our problems in terms of numbers and capabilities. So there is a need to scale up and there is a need to speed up. There are many speakers who are coming and who are dealing with issues on Atmanirbharta and indigenous side, and I'm sure detailed discussion will happen there. I'll leave it here because in my time, I want to quickly go on to what else we should do. I mentioned about drones and counter drones. This being, especially in the peacetime, going to increasingly become a nuisance, but even for a proper conventional conflict, it will have a very big say in the initial days of the war. And I think there is a lot of development that needs to be done. We see a total blow up of the in the drones field across India. The number of companies and startups, I think, are already crossing 300, and this is a field which is really being looked at. However, I feel there is a need to bring in a little focus from defense perspective in terms of what is required, in terms of being able to counter jamming, in terms of swarming, in terms of weaponized capability, and how it will get employed with the concept of operation. So, a little haphazard development needs to come into focus and utilize. More importantly, I think for peacetime, the counter-air systems that are already under development need to go high-tech and next generation, so that we are able to not only cater for wartime situation, but peacetime, we should reach a situation where our boundaries, our borders, our LACs cannot be crossed by drones if we have the right counter drone system, be it through soft, that means jamming, or be it, if required, if they do cross through a hard kill. So this, I think, from our capability development in drone counter drone should become an immediate focus. A lot of work has happened, but this will give us good dividends, especially in the no war, no peace situation. On the fronts, away from just going a little away from drones, I think 4 or 5 areas we need to concentrate for tomorrow. I will start with an extension of unmanned, that is the UAVs and UCAVs. From Air Force perspective and from all defense perspective, UAVs development and especially indigenous ones should concentrate on sensors fusion and data ability to get into the network and provide real-time situation, real-time awareness, real-time information, and ability for uh, providing all kind of ISR capability. So drones, the UAVs is a big area of development. I think this will again dictate how capable we are in terms of monitoring a border. We have started the fencing program in about 93. There is a lot of border fencing going on, but I think we need to go to the next level where the technical uh, solutions to monitoring a border and, like I said, preventing drones from crossing. The next is to be able to pick up every single infiltration. So all this, I would put it in the development of UAVs as the first step, and space assets as the next step. But UAVs having their own areas of focus and abilities will be a good capability in the limited areas that we want to employ. It will give us real capability to handle these kind of continuous engagements at a low level of intensity in the peacetime too. Of course, ops time, their role is well understood, and it will give us very, very enhanced capability. UCAVs for the Air Force, I think, is the next level of game changer in its proper implementation in stealth form, and I would say even in non-stealth form as the first step. UCAV is something that we need to come in and develop at a rapid pace, expedite the R&D, get into manned and unmanned aircraft teaming, and thereafter it will take about 10 to 15 years, but that is the kind of developmental time required for these systems. But it is time that we speed up this activity, and once you have a proper UCAV, its employment options are huge, and that is what will change our concept of operations and our operational capability as the next step. Going from this to I'm very fond of networking and data as a very, very uh, infrastructure, big infrastructural requirement from technical infrastructure point of view, which can make all the difference between in a, especially in a two front, but even in a single front situation. From Air Force perspective, we have done a lot. We have come a long way. We have a well established networking system, both for C2 and for data and communication. However, looking at tomorrow, it will very soon start feeling adequate. It is already in the links with the space, is one of the vulnerabilities. I think this is an area which needs to go to the next level. Firstly, as technologies, looking at space assets that can be linked up, the space segments of the communication and data need to become secure and less vulnerable, and with the low latency possible with low Earth orbit satellites. I think this is what will give us a huge capability in data and networking. So for tomorrow, data networking needs to go to the next level. The current terrestrial network need to be upgraded, and the next level, I think, is to go into a independent, uh, you know, backbone of data and network, largely with your satellite capabilities that is going to come up. And this cannot happen, both of these cannot happen without adequately getting quantum technologies and related applications in. So I think this is an area which defense needs to look up very, very quickly and start building capabilities and applications to get our data and networking into the right domain. Next, I think important for tomorrow is cyber and space. I talked about the collusivity capability that it brings for China and Pakistan, and how it disrupting it can become. I think this is an area which, from defense perspective, from Air Force perspective, needs a very hard and long look. We need to build our cyber defenses in particular, in any case, to be able to not get surprised, and not get attacked in a manner that the moment you are data and network centric, you can be sitting on ground on the first day of the war. This is the disruption capability that any smart cyber chap can do. And the more data and networking capable that you become as a service, which is inescapable as a service and as three integrated services and the complete defense network, more and more we have to ensure that we do not become vulnerable to this kind of attack. The next important issue is to harness the space integrated with our capability. a lot of development I have seen in space, especially with the kind of private sector employment that is coming in now and the number of startups going into space. I think this gives us unique capabilities to really leapfrog in technologies and enabling capabilities which can support the Air Force and the defense services to take us to the next level. A whole lot of low Earth orbit satellites launched on demand will give us capability not only in data network communication, your ISR, int, your mapping, navigation, our ability to not get jammed, our ability to have alternate datas and networks independent, so that we don't sit on ground after the start of conflict. But more importantly, to be so advanced that this is one area that you can match up with China, and if we get our act right, beat China at it. And I think this is an area which needs good attention from all our complete academia, industry, the startups, wherein in space you can lead in our area, in region, we can become the leaders, we can be ahead of China. And these abilities, being ahead of China, will give us all the capabilities and disrupting abilities that can put us ahead in our ability to tackle both front or single front or any situation. To conclude, I would only say that we need to look at China and Pakistan collusion hard. We need to be aware that they've read Chanakya as much as we have read, and the Samdhand issues of how this collusion can work on a single front needs to be tackled straight away, to be kept in mind. We need to look at these 5 6 new areas of growth and capabilities, starting with UAV, UCAV, drones, counter drones, space, and cyber, and not forgetting our data networking and bringing in quantum technologies to reach where we can beat our adversaries in terms of technical abilities and capabilities, and have the ability to win any situation in no war, no peace, and of course in conventional conflict. We will always come out on top and win the situation. Thank you very much. If there is any question or any point of discussion, I would love to answer. And Gaurav, I have 1 minute left. He told me don't exceed 20 minutes.
I just have a small question, sir. I'm Bharat Gupta. I head the corporate affairs of Vedanta, sir. My simple question is, you dwelled a lot on the data networks, importance of that, especially in the non-kinetic, non-contact phase that we are in presently. I agree completely with you, sir, the importance of the data networks associated with it. And of late, we have procured a large number of platforms, but not much investments have gone towards development of our ICT infrastructure. Uh, just to put a point that the capital procurements, if I look at it, there is hardly any amount left for doing any kind of a sensible ICT development project. And we have China investing about $5 trillion in Xinjiang as well as Tibet, and they have developed the entire optical fiber network as well as the 5G network in those areas, and that gives them a formidable capability. So are we looking at a situation, or how can we address this? Are there anything, your thoughts on it, how we can beef up the budget, or how can we build India's capabilities right from Ladakh up to Arunachal?
My answer is start putting money in it. Find the budget. We have no choice but to look at this now and start budgeting it, start looking at technology development. But I think on the industry side, there is a lot that can be done. We are not there where if there is a ready system available today, believe me, the services will just jump at it. This capability is required. So I would put it to as an issue on both sides, industry and the startups or the technological experts to start working on it, start developing system, and for the services to start looking at it. Maybe there'll be some joint project requirement. DRDO will have a very big role to play. So we have to all work towards it and get it. But I think your issue is that we are not putting enough budget. We should start putting. We should start looking. see your C2 system and ability to decide fast and utilize your assets more than your adversary can utilize, is, especially when your asset numbers are lower than him, is absolutely critical. Absolutely critical. Our decision making loops have to be fast. In Air Force, we are in a situation today to handle it in the right manner. We need to keep that edge and keep building on it. And for it's true for all defense services, entire structure. Especially with integration, it's even more true.
Would you like to ask any more questions? Yes, please.
I can.
The overwhelming lesson, or one of the main lessons from Ukraine is the manner in which the manifestation of air power was underwhelming, for whatever reason. We, I mean, the Russian Air Force, which was pretty well thought of, you haven't seen SIAD, you haven't seen DIAD, and that air supremacy has just not happened. Because of democratization of, the space, air, and domains, the ability of air forces to operate with impunity as in the past, or at least with air dominance, seems severely questioned. And since we operate a Russian origin fleet, and largely our concepts are based on the manner in which Russians operate, do we need to look at a fundamental restructuring of air power? For example, in terms of the many issues that you spoke of, but they don't seem to be happening in ground. Hybrid fleets, drone, counter-drone capacities, operationally, in an operational form. So this, do we need a conceptual rejig of the Air Force, a structural rejig of the Air Force? Because many other air forces are talking about it.
Okay.
In your view,
Yeah.
or just I want to, the last question is that, did something go wrong with the operation of the Russian Air Force? I mean, in terms of their tactics and all, or the character of air power has changed, and therefore we need to.
My starting response to you is, if they had worked the way Indian Air Force works, the situation would have been different. Just take it from me. They never utilize the air power the way it's meant to be utilized. Never. Except for one or two isolated, events that they tried. It is not, air campaign is not part of their overall campaign. And it is absolute lack of integration and thoughtful policy. Lack of integration. Their ground forces going without any, SEAD, and without the forces being tackled. There are a whole lot of columns of tanks getting attacked, and nothing being done about it is absolutely lack of integration and lack of use of air power. If the air power was used there properly, it would have been a different story. And I don't know the entire details, because the details are obviously, all the details are not available. We can't say what was done. But clearly, a lack of integrating the air and ground element is lacking. And the air element there was put under the ground commander. And it is still not utilized, is what we need to question. The air assets in Russia for ground campaign is under the ground commander's charge, and not getting utilized shows a lack of understanding or the abilities, or they just thought that they can just roll through it, and came across this kind of thing. So concept wise, no, the way we work, our the way entire synergy that we want to put in, where we want to put our assets, what are our priorities, is all thought out, it's all discussed, it all is with the objectives. It wasn't at all, and I'm really surprised the way it has happened there. I totally take your point. uh, what we need to do for tomorrow, yes, there are many things that we need to start building in. For example, you mentioned US and counter drone system and all. It is something that we did right about a year and a half back. It's already fielded. So we have learnt our lesson fast. And a lot of people talk about that, look, there are kamikaze drones and it is a new era in war, and it is not. I don't know how many of you know that Indian Air Force has had this capability for the last 20 years. 20 years. Initially, nobody knew it, but I think last 8, 10 years, people know it. But that is the level we had foreseen there. We've had this capability. Now we are, of course, going into in a much more diverse capability in this range. But we have our systems in place. I think we need to now start looking at future from technology and integration point of view. Integrating with forces, it's again, we need to go to the next level. The challenge will be how to integrate elements of drones with the three services, with the UAVs and with all the air assets, with the artillery fires required. That C2 system is again will get dependent on how good our network is. The moment we have a good network and good integration of all these assets, a lot of this has to happen on auto. If we go as per some of these systems happen with a lot of manual intervention at the moment, we will waste time. And therefore, it has to become more and more automatic. And that's why fundamentally, I think data networking and our ability to do quick C2 is fundamental to our future capability and growth. UCAV and counter drone system is very, very important for our next level of integration and in the thought process. And of course, integrating the assets of all three services for managing air. Air management is critical, and without a proper air management, you cannot win the next war. It is so critical to the output of the war. And I think Russians are realizing to their dismay. Yeah. I think my time is up. You want me to answer? If you're serious about raising hand, jaldi se, otherwise I'll.
Air Force. So
That is the analysis on available information.
Exactly.
Okay? We don't have all the information. You must realize this.
right, sir. But what is your opinion regarding theater command in India's context? That IAF's two-front war, how far you think will it serve India's purpose?
No, of course, we have to integrate and move towards that. That's why all this process is happening. Of course, we have to do it. We have to integrate the defense services and synergize our services and capability. It is more important when you have lesser in numbers. It is more important to synergize, and that is how it will happen.
So the urgency of theater command is there. I mean,
Of course, it is there.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.